Welcome to The Chemical Show, the podcast where chemical means business. I'm your host, Victoria Meyer, bringing you stories and insights from leaders driving innovation and growth across the chemical industry. Each week, we explore key trends, real-world challenges, and the strategies that make an impact. Let's get started. Welcome back to The Chemical Show. It is the beginning of December, and if you're like me, you're thinking, we don't actually have a full month. We have just 3 weeks left to close out this year. And at this point, closing the year strong is not just about wrapping up the tasks, although I'm sure there's some you are ready to close and move past and just be done with. But the reality is this is about creating strategic momentum so that you step into January with clarity, focus, and leadership energy. Every Friday, one of the things I do, and I've done this for years, I always write down in my planner this word, 2 words, finish strong. And the reality is about finishing strong and starting fast. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. This is a quick 15-minute episode. It is a leadership reset to end 2025 strong and to start 2026 with momentum. If you want the one-page version of this, something that you can actually use to jot down notes and make use of, I've made it for you. Grab it in the show notes. It's right there ready for you. So let's talk about this 15-minute reset. First of all, questions. The questions that leaders are asking right now as we sit at the beginning of December are great, but they're also keeping you stuck. And you know this, and I've been hearing this from leaders, and you maybe have heard this yourself, which is, how do we hit the numbers, right? Where are we in the year? How do we close out and hit the numbers in December? May or may not happen given the year that we've got, but it's a reasonable question. The second question I hear a lot of is, what can we reasonably get done before the holidays? Again, 3 weeks left between now and what really is year end before people take their annual leave, Christmas leave, New Year's leave, etc. How do I keep my team moving forward when we're tired and distracted? And oh my gosh, so distracted, right? If you're in the US, we just wrapped up Thanksgiving. We're back. We've got a couple of weeks before we take off for Christmas and New Year's. And there's holiday parties, and there's lunches, and there's dinners, and there's getting things done. There's a lot of distractions right now. How do I keep my team focused and moving forward? And then, of course, what needs to be wrapped up before we break, right? Which ties in pretty closely with what can we get done? What can we wrap up? The reality is these are operational questions, and they're great questions, don't get me wrong, but they're not strategic. They are going to help you finish the year, but they're not necessarily setting you up with momentum for 2026. So let's talk about what are those questions that you can and should be asking yourself and your teams. And these questions are really all about building momentum. Here's some of the questions. What decision am I avoiding that would create momentum in January? Now, okay, guys, let's just be real. If you're like me, if you're like others, there are often some things that we know we need to take a decision on. And we've been putting it off. Well, you know what? December is no time to put off something that's going to be strategically impactful in January. What is it? What clarity do I need to give my team so that we entered Q1 aligned, right? So your team is looking to you for that clarity. How do I want to show up over the next 3 weeks? Who do I want to be as a leader? How do I show up over the next 3 weeks to be most effective? Heck, how do I pre-schedule work and things that might go out, emails, social media posts in my case, other things, so that I cover any gaps over the last 2 weeks? And which relationship, just one, needs to be strengthened before year end, right? I recall several years ago when I was still working at Shell, I got a call from somebody on December 23rd. A senior leader I'd built a really strong relationship with, and she called me in a bit of a, I won't say panic, but absolutely with some concern, which was around, I'm stuck. I'm feeling stuck. I need to get this deal closed before year end, and I want to make sure that I'm a good spot for January 1. Now, I was not even in the business anymore, but she knew I had the right relationships. And it was a critical relationship to her and to me She needed me more at that time than I needed her, but that's okay. That's part of this whole relationship, give and take. And we were glad. And she was glad she had done the work because she reached out to me knowing I had strong relationships with the person that she needed to make a decision with. So relationships are critical all the time, but especially at year end and as you move into January. And what does 2026 need from me as a leader? As a person, who do you want to be? What do you want to achieve? The reality is, it's about asking questions that set you up not just to finish strong in 2025, but to create momentum and to set you up for success in 2026. And honestly, if you don't ask the right questions and get the right focus, those are the things that keep you awake at night. That'll maybe make you wonder about what the heck's going on and did you do something correctly or what's going to happen in January as you're out on breaks. So rather than enjoying the holidays with your family, you're thinking about stuff that, frankly, you should have asked the right questions, set yourself up for success before you left the office. So that's exactly what I've been working on with folks in my executive coaching clients, shifting from closing out tasks in 2025 to creating momentum in December and into January 2026. If you've been thinking and wondering what 2026 needs to look like for you, this, my friends, is where it starts. So these are 4 leadership actions for the 3-week sprint, because as far as I'm concerned, we are now in a 3-week sprint. Number 1, reset the priorities. What really, really and truly matters in the next 3 weeks in terms of getting done, in terms of setting yourself up for success? I think about this a little bit like speed cleaning before the company comes over, right? When you are in a tizzy and you've got an hour to clean your house, man, it's clean, you're focused, you hit the high impact areas. Same with your business here. Now, by the way, you don't want to just spring clean and speed clean rather and shove everything to a closet so that when you open up that closet in January, that it's all falling out on you. So you've got to be strategic around this. But resetting your priorities. What makes the biggest impact for you and your business? And I see so many leaders trying to cram everything in and losing sight of what's really critical in the noise. So your opportunity and the action I'm going to suggest that you take right now is choose 3 things. Choose the 3 key priorities for you over the next 3 weeks that are going to create momentum, not just completion. Completion's important, but what are the things that you can do now that set you up well for 2026? Your second leadership action, clarify commitments with your team. So this is so critical. What clarity does your team need from you so that they finish this year strong and enter January aligned and ready, right? And the action for you as a leader is, number 1, be explicit, be crystal clear with what's important and what needs to happen and why. Because it's really easy to get distracted and for somebody to be working on something that, well, I thought this was our biggest priority right now. It may not be. So as you reset those priorities, come back and talk and be really crystal clear with your team about what is the priority, what needs to happen now, and building into momentum for 2026. The other piece that goes with this, by the way, is remove unnecessary work. So maybe there's a project that's been on the list for a couple of months. You're like, I'm just going to get it done. You know what? Maybe, as it turns out, it wasn't really that important. So removing unnecessary work is equally important. In fact, I might even say it's maybe more important to know what you're not going to do or what you're going to stop doing as what it is that you need to do, and being crystal clear with that with your team. And frankly, grounding your team with what success looks like between now and year end. Leadership action 3 that you can take now here in this 3-week sprint to the year end. Strengthen one key relationship. I told you my Amelia story earlier, but what's your story? What is the one relationship that you have that you need to strengthen that's going to create real momentum for you in January? Perhaps it's executive, perhaps it's a customer or supplier, perhaps it's somebody on your team. Choose one Just choose one, and that's your action. It's just choose one person that you're going to invest in that relationship. It's your boss, your peer, a high performer, a customer, a supplier. And this is where strategic momentum gets built. It's through relationships. And now December is such a great time to demonstrate your appreciation, to recommit to a relationship. You can do this in 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes to build a relationship. Leave a voice memo. Write a personal thank you note or an outreach email, a personal email. Make a quick call. Schedule that first lunch in January, right? Creating that relationship, building momentum is so key. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I love hosting and facilitating the Chemical Executive Mastermind. Leaders need trusted peers, they need advisors, they need perspective, right? And we do this through relationships, not just tasks. So if that's something that stands out for you, let me know. I can share more about it. And then task number 4, your leadership action number 4, make 2026 personal, right? So set your priorities, not just the company and business priorities. I think we sometimes get focused in, and certainly in this time where we've gone through the budgeting process, we're focusing in on what we need to close out to hit our numbers or get close to our numbers or whatever promises you made for 2025. And what are your promises and your numbers and your focus for 2026? But what's it for you personally as a leader? How do you want to show up in 2026? What's on your personal leadership goals? Where are you personally going to have the biggest impact? Maybe what you want more of or what you want less of. And how do you achieve those goals now? Setting yourself up for success today rather than waiting until the end of next year, right? So set it up now, get really crystal clear right now so that in January you hit the ground running. And that's your action, is identify your one thing. And I'm a big believer that you need to get focused in. If there was just one thing that you wanted to do, that you wanted to grow, that you wanted to achieve in 2026, what is it? Write it down, identify it for yourself. Closing the year strong isn't about doing more. It's not about finishing every task and checking off every task that showed up on your to-do list for the year. It's really about focusing your energy, clarifying your impact, and creating momentum that carries into January. Most leaders lose the first 2 weeks of the year catching up, either yourself or your teams. You're playing catch up. But the leaders who get ahead and the businesses that get ahead are those who create clarity and momentum now. So make that happen for yourself. I hope this 15-minute leadership reset was valuable. This is exactly what I'm working on right now for myself, with my coaching and executive clients, and inside the Chemical Executive Mastermind. If you're thinking about what 2026 looks like for you, your leadership, your career, or your impact, reach out. Send me a DM, shoot me an EM, send me a DM, shoot me an email. Now is the time to set that direction, and I'd love to help you with that. So thanks for listening today. Keep listening, keep following, keep sharing, and I hope 2025 finishes strong and 2026 starts fast. Talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us today on The Chemical Show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, share it with your friends and colleagues. For more insights, visit thechemicalshow.com and connect with us on LinkedIn. You can find me at Victoria King Meyer on LinkedIn, and you can also find us at The Chemical Show Podcast. Join us next time for more conversations and strategies shaping the future of the industry. We'll see you soon.